Hi and welcome to another lecture. And in this lecture, we are going to get started with, dealing with the console, like looking at the console. Now, I know that in the previous lectures, we did look at the console in a very brief manner, but in this, we're really going to dive into console. And this is the introduction to console. You can also check out the intermediate and advanced console actions. But let's start with the introduction. Now, well, this is the Google Developer Tools, of course. We have been working on the same basically editor for a long time, and you can see that there's no console. It's hidden. So if you go to these three dots over here, you click on it and you say show console, and the console will appear right over here. Pretty cool, right? And you can do different kind of operations on the console. You can do multiplication, addition, all the kind of all operations you can perform, and it will evaluate it. And you can click the clear console and it will clear the console. Now, the console is a very important part of JavaScript or any kind of debugging because any error that is thrown by your application will be logged into the console. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say image source. I'm going to say some image that doesn't exist. So I'm going to say HTTP. This website does not exist.com. Some random image.png, and of course this is all fake. This does not really exist. I'm going to save it and refresh it, and you can see that the console will log that this is a bad request. Okay, so if you have an image and dynamically or statically you're assigning some source to it, some link to it, okay, and it doesn't exist, the first thing you're going to do is check on the console that there are no errors, but we do have an error. Okay. So clearly this particular website or this particular image does not exist, and the console is there to tell you. If you click on it, of course, it will take you to the network tab, and it will show you that, okay, it's trying to get this image and this image doesn't exist. That's okay. All right. Now, so we have seen that the console will log the errors and all kind of things. You can also filter the errors by clicking on this filter button. So by default, it is selected all, but you can filter by error, warnings, info, logs, and all kind of stuff. All right, we will leave it as default. Now let's go ahead and create, well, we'll just delete this guy. We are going to create a button, and we're just going to say add. Okay, and I'm going to give the ID of the button as my button. Okay, and let's say that on click is going to say add. It's going to call a function called add, just like in the previous lectures. But we're going to add some method over here, and I can say function add like this. Okay. Now, I do want to find out, or I do want to debug this function, or I do want to find out, write something on the console. And I can do that. So once this function is called, if I'm debugging, I can simply say console.log add function is fired. Okay, so now if I refresh my page, I will have a button. When I click the button, you can see that it says add function is fired. That is pretty cool, right? If I go ahead and click it again, it says add function is fired. So you can log anything you want. You can log the variables, you can log some other stuff. So you can log anything that you basically want in that function. Now sometimes you have a loop. So for, you can say I equal to 1, I less than equal to 10, I plus plus. And you can say console.log hello world. Okay, so now if I save it and refresh it and I say add, you'll see that it doesn't really print out hello world 10 times. The Google Chrome Developer Tools is smart enough to stack all those messages into one message, and then the number is indicating that how many times it has called. And this is really cool because you don't have like hello world, hello world, hello world like 10 times over here. You just have a hello world and the number is indicating that, okay, you know what, it's called 10 times. Cool, right? All right, so we're done with that. Sometimes you want to debug, okay? Sometimes you want to debug a function and you just want that, okay, I don't know when this function is being called, but whenever it's called, just enter into the debugger mode. So this can be done by entering a command called debugger. All right, so now I'm going to refresh the page and I'm going to say add, and you can see that it automatically, without me placing an explicit breakpoint, it actually catches the add function using the debugger keyword, and now you can start debugging. Okay, and that's pretty cool, right? Because sometimes if you have a complicated JavaScript, you can have like so many different methods of JavaScript calling so many other methods. So if you can place a debugger keyword in there, then you can simply jump into the one that you want. Now remember, when you are launching for production, make sure to remove these debugger methods, okay? Okay, so the next thing that we want to look at is preserving the logs. Okay, so if I say console.log and I say hello world, all right, and if I refresh the page, I say add, and you can see that it says hello world and hello world 2 times now. But if I refresh the page, it's gone. Sometimes I would like that information to be there, okay? So I can maybe, the changes that I'm making in JavaScript, I can look at the history. So sometimes we want to preserve the history. And that can easily be done by using the preserve log. And you just check it. And now if you refresh it, then you can see, even if I refresh it, it doesn't really go, it doesn't go away. And everything is actually being logged, navigated to this file and all that stuff. Okay, depending on your condition. Okay, accessing elements. All right. So if I want to just access the button on the page, I can simply use a shortcut like this and access the page. Now, keeping in mind that I'm not referencing to any jQuery library or anything like that. These are the built-in functions that you can do. Okay. Sometimes I also want to get the button using document.get element by ID, and you can actually do that. Okay, so I can say my button, and then if you say button, it's going to say like this, button.add. Oh, the button doesn't have the add method, okay? But the button does have a click method. So I can say button.click, and then you can see that if I say button.click, it's going to go over here and print out the hello world, okay? So you can see how powerful this is, the console is. One of the things that you might be noticing over here is that this says top frame. Now, top frame is basically your window frame, okay? But you can have different iframes. So if you have iframe, you can do that by creating an iframe, and you can see my frame. Let's go ahead and refresh it. So you have the iframe now, and then this will actually give you to select different frames. So that is pretty cool. Okay, most of the time you'll be working on your top frame, but now you can jump to the my frame option. Okay. So that is pretty much it. Now, the console, as I have explained earlier, is there's a lot of things you can do. And in this beginning console lecture, basically we see the basic operations that you can do. But jump into the intermediate console after this lecture and then the advanced, and you'll see some really, really cool power of using the Google Chrome Developer Tools console. So stay tuned for that. Thank you.